Have you ever done something in one night that you instantly regretted and it destroyed everything you loved? That question has haunted me every single day since that night. My name is Emily, and I thought my marriage with Mark was perfect, or at least perfect enough to make everyone envious. He was charming, successful, and attentive, at least on the surface. But behind closed doors, there was tension I couldn't explain. A quiet distance that had started creeping in like shadows at dusk. It all began with a night out with colleagues. I told myself it was just drinks, just laughter, just an escape. But one choice, one fleeting moment, would ignite a chain reaction that changed my life forever. I still remember the taste of whiskey lingering on my lips, the thrill of something forbidden buzzing through me, and that fleeting thought, what am I doing? I know you're thinking, how bad could it be? Trust me, it's worse than anything you can imagine. And if you want to see every twist, every betrayal, every shocking revelation unfold, make sure you hit that subscribe button. You won't want to miss a single moment. By the end of that night, my world had shifted. One reckless choice had set off a storm I couldn't stop, and I had no idea how far it would reach. So, what exactly happened that night? Let's unravel it. Life with Mark had always looked flawless to everyone else. Friends called us the perfect couple. Family admired us. And strangers envied our ideal marriage. But behind closed doors, small cracks had begun appearing. Like hairline fractures in a glass I didn't realize was fragile. Mark had been working late more often, distracted, sometimes cold in ways I couldn't explain. Forgotten dates, tiny arguments over nothing. A sigh here, a raised eyebrow there. Each small gesture piled up, whispering that something was off. I told myself it was just stress, but deep down, a quiet alarm rang in my mind, warning me that our life wasn't as safe as it seemed. Even I felt the pull of emptiness, a craving for excitement that our routine couldn't satisfy. Little did I know, that craving would lead me to a single night that would shatter our world. Every laugh I had planned, every moment of comfort, was about to collide with a mistake I would regret forever. Have you ever felt that tiny warning in your gut? The one that something is about to go terribly wrong? That's exactly the tension I was. First, it was harmless chatter, just laughter and small talk. But as the night went on, drinks loosened my caution, and the thrill of forbidden attention made my pulse race. I paused, heart hammering, thinking, I can stop. I shouldn't do this. But what if this is the escape I've been craving? One moment of weakness, one impulsive choice, and everything I thought I had would unravel. Have you ever been tempted by something you knew was wrong and felt powerless to resist? That's exactly what was about to happen that night. In the dim corner of the bar, Jason leaned closer, his presence magnetic and dangerously tempting. One laugh turned into another. One drink blurred my caution, and before I knew it, I let my guard slip. Every nerve in my body screamed to stop, but the thrill of doing something forbidden drowned out reason. Then it happened. A single stolen kiss. The taste of alcohol and adrenaline mixed on my lips, my heart beat thundering so loudly I was sure he could hear it. I tried to pull back, whispering an excuse, but my mind was spinning. What have I done? How could one moment shatter everything I've built? Rushing out into the night, the city lights blurred, echoing the chaos in my mind. Guilt clawed at me, but deeper than that was a chilling fear. Mark will never look at me the same way again, and if he ever finds out, everything is gone. Have you ever done something in a moment of weakness that you instantly knew could ruin your life? That's exactly what I was facing, and it had only just begun. The next morning, I tried to act normal, but the weight of my mistake pressed down on me like a storm cloud. Every glance from Mark felt loaded, every word a potential test. My mind replayed that night on an endless loop. Every laugh, every touch, every fleeting thrill now tainted with guilt. It didn't take long for subtle signs to appear. Mark's usually warm texts became clipped and distant. He walked past my phone as if sensing I was hiding something, his eyes flicking ever so briefly at the screen before looking away. My pulse raced with every movement he made. Even the creak of the floorboards felt like a warning. And then there were the near discoveries. An unexpected text from a colleague mentioning that night, a misplaced item I hadn't noticed before. Each incident sent my heart pounding, each one a reminder that secrets, no matter how carefully hidden, have a way of surfacing. I realized I wasn't just living with guilt. I was trapped in a cage of fear. Undeniable clue. A receipt tucked under a magazine, time-stamped after I had sworn I'd gone straight home. My pulse spiked, and for a split second, I considered confessing. But fear chained my words. I realized then that Mark's awareness, or intuition, might already be sharper than I had imagined. Every glance between us became a silent duel, every conversation loaded with hidden meanings. Secrets weren't just mine anymore. They belonged to him too. The more I tried to hide, the more the walls of our marriage seemed to close in. The nightmare I had created was growing, and I knew the first crack in our facade would soon explode. Have you ever felt trapped in a game where every move could reveal a devastating truth? That's exactly the tension I was living with. Guilt consumed me like fire. Every smile I forced felt hollow. Every word I spoke carried the weight of deception. Nights were the worst, lying awake while Mark slept beside me, replaying every choice, every glance, every whisper from that night. My mind was a battlefield, torn between remorse and fear. Paranoia crept in. I analyzed his every gesture, every subtle change in tone. Was he suspicious, or was I imagining it all, twisting normal behavior into threats? The line between reality and my fear blurred. I questioned my morality. Had one reckless night made me a fundamentally dishonest person? Even the mundane became unbearable. The creak of the floor, the click of the lock, the casual hum of the fridge. Everything felt like a reminder of what I had done. The emotional fallout wasn't just guilt. It was a constant, suffocating tension that threatened to unravel everything I had built. Have you ever felt so weighed down by your own mistakes that every second is a struggle to breathe? That's exactly where I was. It happened sooner than I feared. One evening, Mark's calm, measured voice cut through the silence. "Emily, can we talk?" My heart stopped. There was no anger in his tone, only a quiet intensity that made every nerve in my body tense. I nodded, swallowing hard, and followed him to the living room, where shadows seemed to lengthen with every step. He didn't accuse me outright. Instead, he asked seemingly innocent questions about my day, my colleagues, buzzed with a message from an unknown number. My hands shook as I read it, vague hints of secret meetings, cryptic words, and a tone that suggested he, too, had been hiding something. Betrayal suddenly became two-sided. Panic clawed at me. My mind raced. Was he planning to confront me, or was he hiding something worse? I felt trapped, realizing that the seemingly perfect man I had married had layers I hadn't suspected. My one night of weakness paled against the shadow of his own secrets. Then came the undeniable evidence, a photograph tucked in his drawer, showing him at a place I didn't know he had been, time-stamped the same night I made my mistake. My pulse thundered in my ears. The nightmare I had tried to contain had grown, expanding beyond my own guilt. Have you ever uncovered a truth that made you question everything you thought you knew? That's exactly where I stood. From that moment, our home felt like a battlefield. Every glance, every word, every silence carried hidden meaning. Mark's subtle gestures, an eyebrow raised, a half smile, the way he lingered near my phone, kept me on edge. My heart raced constantly, as if anticipating an explosion I couldn't stop. Even the simplest interactions became tense. I overanalyzed casual comments from friends and family, wondering if they suspected anything. Every laugh felt forced, every conversation a trap. The walls of our once safe home now pressed in like a cage. The pressure wasn't just psychological, it was real. Near discoveries piled up, coincidences that seemed too pointed to ignore. Each day brought a fresh wave of anxiety, and I realized that the true danger wasn't just my guilt. It was the uncertainty, the knowledge that at any moment, one wrong move could shatter everything. Have you ever lived with the constant fear that one slip could ruin your life? That's exactly the world I was trapped in. The fear of being caught became a constant shadow. Every phone buzz, every unexpected knock, every sudden noise sent my heart racing. I felt like I was walking a tightrope over a pit of fire, one wrong move away from total exposure. Near disasters came in quick succession. A friend texted about that night, joking about a detail I hadn't noticed. I froze, fingers trembling as I deleted the message. Another time, Mark casually mentioned someone I had been with, and I scrambled for an innocent response, my mind spinning with panic. Each close call tightened the grip of anxiety around me. Even simple moments were tense. A glance at Mark's expression, the way he held his phone, the silence in the room, all of it screamed danger. I realized then that living with a secret wasn't just about hiding the truth. It was about surviving the constant threat of exposure. Every day felt like a game I could never win. Have you ever narrowly avoided disaster only to feel fear coil tight, erased messages, invented excuses, and rehearsed conversations to cover every trace of that night? Every small slip could ignite a chain reaction, exposing everything I had tried to hide. The pressure was suffocating, and each passing hour made me more paranoid. But the more I tried to control the situation, the more fragile it became. Mark's subtle observations grew sharper, questions loaded with double meanings, a lingering glance, a pause that hinted at knowledge I didn't want him to have. My careful web of lies felt increasingly like a trap I had set for myself. Even friends and family noticed the tension. Casual conversations felt strained, smiles forced. The weight of maintaining the facade threatened to crush me. I realized then that hiding a secret wasn't just about cleverness. It was a game of survival, and one misstep could destroy everything. Have you ever felt that even your best efforts couldn't stop the truth from creeping out? That's exactly how I felt. Just when I thought I had contained the damage, the truth began surfacing in ways I hadn't expected. One evening, I overheard Mark on a phone call, his voice low and tense, discussing someone I didn't recognize. A chill ran down my spine. He had secrets of his own, secrets that tangled with mine. The next day, I discovered undeniable evidence, a small envelope hidden in his drawer, containing receipts and a cryptic note pointing to meetings I didn't know about. My pulse raced as the reality sank in. Mark had been hiding things too, and my one night of weakness was no longer the center of this storm. Every glance, every gesture, every whispered word now felt like part of a puzzle, revealing a truth I wasn't sure I wanted to see. The nightmare was no longer mine alone. It had grown, and I was trapped in the eye of a storm I couldn't escape. Have you ever uncovered a truth so shocking it turns your entire world upside down? That's exactly where I was. Just when I thought the storm couldn't get worse, betrayal came from a source I never expected. A close friend, someone I had trusted completely, revealed a conversation they had with Mark, details I hadn't known, secrets I never imagined. The revelation hit me like a punch to the chest. Betrayal wasn't just mine or Mark's. It had spread further, infecting the people I considered allies. Shock and disbelief left me reeling. Every smile I had shared, every conversation I had trusted, suddenly seemed like a potential trap. I questioned my judgment, my instincts, even my ability to trust myself. The lines between loyalty and deceit blurred, and I realized that my one-night mistake had exposed the fragility of every relationship I held dear. The emotional stakes skyrocketed. The suspense, tension, and fear became almost unbearable, and I understood that I was deeper in this nightmare than I had ever imagined. Have you ever been betrayed by had fallen into? By now, fear had transformed into determination. The betrayals, secrets, and constant tension left me with one clear choice. I couldn't remain passive. I needed a plan, a way to reclaim control, expose the truth, or at least protect myself from further damage. Every option was a gamble. Should I confront Mark directly, risking an explosive showdown? Should I gather evidence quietly, letting him live in paranoia as I had? The stakes were high, and the clock seemed to tick faster with each passing hour. The longer I waited, the more dangerous the situation became. I began documenting every suspicious message, every hidden action, every cryptic remark. Each piece of information added fuel to a fire I wasn't sure I could control. Revenge wasn't just about punishment. It was about survival, reclaiming power in a situation where I had felt powerless for far too long. Have you ever reached a point where doing nothing was more dangerous than taking action? That's exactly where I stood. After days of careful planning, I finally made my move. I confronted Mark, not with anger, but with a calm intensity that masked the storm inside me. I dropped subtle hints that I knew more than I let on, watching his reactions like a hawk. The tension in the room was suffocating. Every word, every gesture carried unspoken threats and fear. For the first time, I felt a surge of power. I was no longer the guilty party hiding in shadows. I was actively shaping the narrative, testing his reactions, reclaiming a fraction of the control that had been stolen from me. But with action came danger. One misstep, one revealing glance, and everything could collapse. That night, I went to bed with adrenaline coursing through me, knowing the first spark had been lit. The battle had begun, and our lives, our marriage, and everything we had built hung in fragile balance, ready to topple at any moment. Have you ever taken a bold step, knowing it could change everything? That's exactly where I was. I thought I was in control, but the consequences of my actions quickly spiraled beyond my grasp. The subtle hints I dropped to Mark didn't just unsettle him. They triggered a chain reaction I hadn't anticipated. His behavior shifted. Secretive glances, tense pauses, and sudden absences that made my stomach knot with dread. Even worse, my attempts to protect myself caused collateral damage. Friends and family began noticing the strain between us, raising questions I couldn't answer. Lies tangled with truths, and trust eroded further. Imagine knowing that each decision could push everything over the edge. That's exactly where I was. The weight of guilt, fear, and tension finally crushed me. Nights became unbearable. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat, couldn't focus. My mind replayed every betrayal, every secret, every near discovery. Tears came unbidden, and I found myself sobbing alone, the reality of my choices hitting me like a freight train. Mark sensed it too. His wary eyes, full of unspoken questions, seemed to measure my weakness. The silence between us was deafening, filled with everything we weren't saying, but both knew. Every day felt like walking through a minefield. One misstep away from total devastation. Yet, even in that darkness, a flicker of determination remained. I had survived this long, and I refused to let the nightmare win without a fight. The stakes were higher than ever, but one thing was clear: I couldn't crumble completely. Survival demanded facing the storm, no matter how terrifying it seemed. Have you ever hit rock bottom only to find the courage to face the chaos head-on? That's exactly where I stood. Everything came to a head one stormy evening. The tension between Mark and me had reached the breaking point. The air in the house felt thick, heavy, as if every word or glance could ignite an explosion. Every step, every pause, every breath seemed charged with unspoken accusations. I had gathered all the evidence, pieced together every secret, and readied myself for the confrontation that could either destroy us completely or finally bring clarity. Mark, too, seemed poised on the edge, his calm facade replaced by taut alertness, like a predator waiting for the first sign of weakness. As we sat across from each other at the dinner table, silence became louder than words. I knew the next move, his or mine, would decide everything. The nightmare of betrayal, secrecy, and guilt was about to collide in a way neither of us could predict. Every decision, every revelation, every accusation hung in the balance, leading to the climax that would finally expose the truth. Have you ever felt the storm before the lightning strikes? That's exactly the moment I was living. The confrontation finally erupted. Words that had simmered for weeks exploded across the room. I revealed every detail of my mistake, every pang of guilt, every hidden moment. Mark, in turn, confessed his own secrets, betrayals I hadn't imagined, mirroring mine in ways that left me. Before the night ended, knowing the storm had changed us forever. The nightmare of betrayal and secrecy had passed, leaving scars, but also lessons. And to anyone watching, remember, every choice has consequences, and honesty, no matter how hard, is the only path to freedom. If you've stayed with me this far, don't forget to subscribe. You won't want to miss the next story, where secrets, betrayal, and suspense will push the limits even further.